Do you find yourself as a stone, tile, or flooring business owner still caught approving jobs or chasing estimates, having to juggle the schedules or, really be the one in the weeds with your inventory, for example, or even having to be the one to step in to save an install at the last minute? Or maybe you even find that you're having to put on your design consultant hat on projects that you barely profit from, and that still somehow lands on your plate. All of these things, if you're having to wear all those hats, juggle these things, and you're stretched too thin, and worse of all, you're not able to actually focus on the business of really the things that are going to move the needle, and it's starting to burn you out, right? You're stretched too thin trying to manage all these things. That's what I call the owner overload loop. Today, I'm going to break down a 5-step playbook to get out of the weeds, out from that growth trap, and be able to reclaim ownership of your business and start to turn your business into a well-oiled machine where your team runs the business and that you're not the glue having to hold everything together. This is part 2 of this 3-part mini series on the 3 stages of stuck that I see time and time again that surface industry business owners run into on their journey to trying to grow a business that's highly profitable, doesn't depend on them, and where they get to do what they love and what they enjoy and why they got into this in the first place, right? So part 1 of this mini series was about the survival stage spiral. And that's where you find yourself like really fighting and struggling in the feast or famine cycles. Cash flow is inconsistent. So are sales, right? They're kind of unpredictable. And you end up on this revenue roller coaster and it's rough. If that sounds like where you are now, then check out the first part in this series and start there first. But I will say that part 2 is often something that you're going to be feeling as well. So if you're in that stage, then likely some of these things that I'm going to be talking about in part 2 is also going to apply to you. But who this episode is really for are those that have ideally gotten out of the survival stage. They've built a successful business, but the business still owns you, right? You're the glue. You're the one that's holding it all together. And the more you grow, so like despite the success of your business, the more you grow, the more weight that it adds to you. And the really challenging thing is that when you're in the owner overload loop, it's usually because you're lacking important systems. You grew so fast, you didn't have time to really build the solid foundation. As a result, you're the system that holds everything together and that keeps everything moving and delivering at the standard and quality that you'd want it to, right? Okay, so that's what we're going to be covering today. And then finally, in part 3, we're going to tackle the next stage, which is the growth ceiling gridlock. That's where, your business has really gotten to a significant level, but because of that, due to all of the volume, all of the different moving parts, all of the complexity, you've hit a ceiling you just can't break through. And on the other side, things are starting to feel like they're sliding backwards. So that's what we're tackling in this 3-part mini series, the 3 stages of stuck. And now I'm going to go ahead and jump into the problem of the owner overload loop, what it really is, how to spot it, how to know you're in it, and then we'll break down how to get out of it. Okay, so here's the thing. When your systems are either lacking or the ones that you have in place were for you've really outgrown that stage of your business, then, as I just mentioned before, the owner often becomes the system, right? You are the default operating system as the business owner. Even if you have a team that includes some managers, some supervisors, still too much depends on you. And because of that, you don't really feel like you've got a real business. Because, like, when you're on vacation, for example, your phone is still glued to your hand, right? You're fighting fires remotely, helping to guide your team, making things get sure that things get across the finish line, right? And those are all signs that, you don't really have a business that, can run independent of you. And that's really what you want, right? You want a business that can run like a well-oiled machine without you in the day-to-day. And if you took 3 weeks off, when you come back, everything would still be humming along, right? That's the ideal. And it takes time to get there. But first, we've got to get you out of this growth trap, the owner overload loop. This is where you've gotten to that stage of your business where growth has added too much complexity. You're drowning, or it feels like you're just treading water, just trying to keep up. In some cases, our clients said, well, it feels like I'm in quicksand. And if I don't fix this fast, I don't know what we're going to do. This is where, the jobs are stacking up, right? If you're a countertop manufacturer, flooring company, or if you're on the material side of the business, a supplier, for example, you've got so many different SKUs. You've got a much bigger warehouse, you've got a bigger team, and all of this complexity is adding up that then now you're the bottleneck in the business, right? And because of that, there are delays. Things are falling through the cracks. Quality is starting to slip here and there, right? In the worst cases, when we come on and we work with our clients, they've lost some significant accounts because they're starting to slip. And in some cases, that makes up a large percentage of revenue. We've had clients that are like, that was 20% of all of our revenue on an annual basis. We lost that because we took our eye off the ball, because we had so many other builders, contractors to work with, for example. We just couldn't keep up and we took our eye off the ball. The other ways that this shows up, the reality of this, the brutal truth, is that your team doesn't have the true playbooks to own outcomes without you. What do I mean by that? True playbooks. Well, that's where you've got your systems, your processes, your workflows so well defined. You've given your team absolute clarity that they can follow it step by step to get a predictable outcome every single time without relying on you or anybody else for that matter. And when they don't have that, so often we expect our team to, they should just know this. Like, why aren't they doing that properly? Or how are they missing that or not being able to solve that problem on their own? It's more often than not a people problem. If you've got the right hires and they care, it's a systems problem. We haven't put the foundation in place. We haven't armed our team with the playbooks to be able to get the predictable outcomes that we need in our business so that it can run like a well-oiled machine without us, right? Without us being the one to drive everything, make sure that things don't, go wrong, or put on our cape and save the day when it does go wrong, right? So this is what we're jamming on here today. And later on, I'm going to get into the 5-step playbook so that you can escape the owner overload loop. But I do want to just define what that is. So you can say, hey, yeah, no, I'm in this. This is for me. I'm in the right place. I want to keep going through the rest of this episode so that I can get the right solutions. If decisions and, problem solving, firefighting, all kind of root back to you, as well as approvals and different things that you got a green light, and because of that, things get held up. These are all symptoms of the owner overload loop, right? And when this is the case, your team becomes trained on the fact that you're going to make the call, you're going to solve the problem, You're going to, you know, be able to give the approval of something so it goes through. And they're conditioned to think that that's what's needed when it's not. You need a team, not just of helpers, you need a team of leaders that take ownership of outcomes. Right? That's the big shift that you want to make so that people no longer defer up. Instead of waiting for your signal, they own outcomes. These are the changes that we want to make because right now you've become the bottleneck, right? So that you're always having to work in the business and not on the business. And because of that, the business plateaus and everything feels heavier. So if that sounds like where you are right now, if these are the things that your team comes to you for, can you check these numbers? Or, you know, this customer's upset because insert whatever issue of the day, right? How do I handle this? Or the project goes sideways. What do we do? Right? If these are all the things that are constantly coming at you, or if you're the one that, in order to make sure things are getting done on time and things are moving forward and that deals and opportunities aren't going to fall through the cracks and money's going to be left on the table, if you have to follow up, double check things, handhold things to get them across the line, then this is also the episode for you. So I just wanted to talk about something that we've helped a ton of different clients go through and break through and get on the other side of. It's something I'm really passionate about because when I first started in this game, in the surface industry back in 2017, we were really focused on helping our clients to grow and grow fast. But often we didn't recognize the signs at the beginning, or we didn't ask the right questions before we started helping them to drive that growth. And what we ended up doing was just pouring gasoline on the fire and really making so many of their problems worse. And now at this point, having been doing this for so long, we now take a 360 view of things. We've got to build a foundation first where it's really built around the freedom that the business owner wants. We have to design a business for that and then really build that foundation so that it's set and can handle the growth that everybody wants, right? All right, so let's shift gears now into how do we get out of this trap, right? How do we build a business for freedom first? And this is, again, guys, when we talk about the growth engine, when we talk about building it for freedom first and having that system installed first, this is critical before you get to, you know, building a sales engine, a marketing machine, or your company operating system or leadership engine. The thing that we got to focus on first is reclaiming ownership of the business, you know, ensuring that the business is going to work for you and not the other way around. So the fix that we need to make, number one, is for you as the business owner, stop being the system and install the critical systems so that your team can run it without you. And from where you're sitting right now, you might be like, that seems impossible. It's not, but it does take work, right? It's not going to happen overnight when you're just feeling like you're drowning, but there is no other alternative, right? Quitting is not an option. So the only way is through, and I'm going to help you get through. So, and this is exactly what we do inside of the growth engine model, right? That's where we're helping you to build a business by design versus by default so that you don't end up having something that while the money's good, it just consumes you. All right, now my promise to you is if you follow the 5-step playbook that I'm going to break down for you here, in the next 30 days, you're going to be able to start to really break free from the owner overload loop. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into it. Step number one is to redefine what your main job is as the business owner, as the CEO of your company. What I want you to do is I want you to think about it this way. You're going to fire yourself and then rehire yourself. All right, why are we doing this? Well, I want to ask you a question. If you hired a CEO to run your company tomorrow, would you have them do all of the things that you're doing? Right? Would you have them do estimates? Maybe you have to do takeoffs, or sometimes you get pulled in to do templating. You're still the one that manages the schedule. You've got to do all the bookkeeping, payroll, right? All of those things. I've even had some clients that are at 6 million and they're still the ones that are posting on Instagram and running the social media account, right? You've got to fire yourself immediately, then rehire yourself with clarity on what is your job? What are the most impactful things that you should be doing? So what I want you to do is write 2 job descriptions. You don't have to spend a ton of time doing this, but it's an important exercise for you to take. You can use ChatGPT if you want and just hit the mic and just talk into it. I want you to write 2 job descriptions. The current you, everything you really do right now, and the CEO version of you, right? What the business really needs. And what I want you to think about is, as the business owner and the acting as a true CEO for the business, what are the 3 high leverage outcomes that I should be focused on for the next 1 or more quarters in the business? And everything else, I should have the blinders on, and I should be transferring to either existing employees or team members, or I should be finding people to transfer those things to. And this works really well because you're going to be giving yourself permission to let go of a lot of the things that you've been carrying and really redefining what it means to own your business instead of it owning you. Once you've done this first step, you're going to move to the second step in the playbook, which is you're going to audit in more detail now. You've done the job description, but now you're going to dig in and look at what you're really doing and what you need to transfer. So the way to look at this, a very simple way, is I want you just to grab a sheet of paper. Well, there's 2 ways. If you're really going to tackle this, then you really want to audit your time. And to do that, you're going to look at just breaking your day down by half-hour blocks and just entering in for 1 to 2 weeks everything you did in each one of those blocks. And that's really going to give you a reality check of where you're spending your time. It's going to be shocking. And if you do it that way, at the end of the week, I want you to look at what are $15 an hour tasks, like minimum wage, what's a $50 an hour task, and what's a $500 an hour task, right? What is maybe not task, but if it's $500 an hour, that's the area of focus of the work and how much value it produces, right? So that's the way I'd love for you to do it. If you've got a little bit of bandwidth, if you really do see the value in that, of really understanding what you do on a day-to-day basis, because so often we overlook all the things we do as a business owner. But the other way to do it, quick and dirty, grab a sheet of paper, draw a line down the middle. It's got 2 columns. On the left-hand side, just off the top of the dome, break down everything that you know that you do. On the right-hand side, these are the things where you add the most value that are connected with that description of the future CEO, right? The future version of you, right? So on the right side, you would list out the 3 to 5 things that make up your main job that we talked about, right? Okay. So I want you to now look at that list of all the things. It might be, hey, I'm the one that has to do scheduling. I'm the one that has to follow up with some of our vendors. I've got to pull PO numbers. I've got to, still do some of the takeoffs and estimates for the bigger, commercial jobs, whatever it is, right? That huge list. I want you to go through, right? Adding, is this $15 an hour? Is this $50 an hour? Is it $500 an hour? And then the other thing I want you to do is go through and circle the main 3 to 5 of that huge list that irritate you, frustrate you, that just when you do this, it drains you, right? Those are the things that you have to transfer immediately. And so now what I want you to think about is, who do I have on my team right now that I can transfer this to? Or what are the creative ways that I can buy back my time and hire somebody to do this? So one of the limiting beliefs is thinking, oh, I need to hire an employee to do that, part-time or full-time. You don't. You don't need a part-time bookkeeper in terms of hiring them on your payroll and having them there 20 hours a week. You can find a fractional bookkeeper on a platform like Upwork.com, for example. You can even find somebody on there to do takeoffs, estimates, run your social media, right? All of those things that you have on that left-hand side, you can easily outsource to somebody that's not on your books. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to make a game plan for transferring the top 3 to 5 things that you circled this month. You're going to transfer those things, okay? Ideally within the next 2 weeks, right? If you're in the owner overload loop, then you want to get moving on this as quickly as possible. So in the next 2 weeks or month at maximum. All right, guys. Now I'm going to share with you, and I'll do a separate full training on this in a different episode, but I'm going to stick to the high level, and you'll find in the show notes a link to these resources. These are the tools that I'm going to share in step number 3 of the playbook, which is the fastest way to capture your SOPs, build your playbooks, which are your systems, at scale. So this is the fastest way that I've discovered to be able to have your team build all of your SOPs, all of the resources you need to either cross-train or onboard new team members, and for your team to be able to follow to create predictable outcomes every single time. All right, so what is the outdated way of producing SOPs and playbooks? That's where somebody's sitting in front of the computer typing out an SOP, right? Step 1, bullet 1, break it all down. Nobody's going to read that. Nobody's going to follow it, and it's a waste of time. What you want to do, the fastest way, is to capture, well, actually, let me just back up real quick. You can think about the 3D principle, which is do, document, delegate. And what's the fastest way to document it? There are tools that you can use to capture your work while you're doing it in real time. The 2 tools we mentioned, number 1 is called Loom, loom.com. The second tool is called Tango, tango.ai, I believe they moved to. Those are 2 tools, super powerful, that when you dive into this, please, I would love for you to leave a comment or rate and review, depending if you're on YouTube or the podcast, and share what a game changer this was for you and your team. So what are you going to do? What do these tools do for you? Well, Loom is something that you can use to capture and record video of work you're doing on your computer. So for example, if you're using your ERP and you're doing some project management or QuickBooks and you're creating an invoice, all of that can be recorded on your desktop. And if you upgrade your plan, I think to a pro or business plan on Loom, you can have it generate a SOP immediately for you. All right. So if you want our full training on this, reach out to us. Find us at drivenforgrowth.co, or you can email us at team@drivenforgrowth.co. Even easier. Reach out and ask for our playbook on capturing SOPs, and we'll send it to you. We've got an end-to-end training on that. I just thought of that. I can give you that. You can follow it step by step. Otherwise, let me just try and describe it for you here. As long as you are narrating everything you're doing in that video, it'll make the SOP for you end to end. So this works for doing things on your computer. It also works for in the shop, in the warehouse, on a job site, doing an install. As long as you're recording, because you can use mobile, people are having their install team talk it through. This is why we do this. This is how you measure for moisture. This is how you polish the edge. This is how you make sure you set up the showroom displays. All of that can be done with your mobile device. And then just with one click, AI is going to produce your SOP. And then you can throw that into ChatGPT, for example, and produce a checklist. Because the video is the resource to do training. The SOP is to make sure that the process is clearly defined. The checklist is the steps that somebody follows while they're doing the task in real time to make sure they get the same result every time. And that is how you have your team own outcomes. And that's what a playbook is. Now, not to go too long on this episode, it's getting long as it is. I'll try to bring this home for you guys in a minute. Tango.ai is something that just records your screen, but not through video. It basically takes snapshots of your screen as you are doing the work, wherever you click, and you can edit, you can give more context, you can put in more resources, but it's essentially a visual SOP that's extremely helpful for things that are more technical, right? Where you want somebody to be able to paint by numbers and make sure they don't miss those little details so that they can produce the same exact work that you do or another team member does. So recap, those are the two resources, loom.com, Tango AI. Reach out to us at team@drivenforgrowth.co. If you want the training, just say, hey, I want the training on how to create my playbooks and capture my SOPs, and we'll send that over to you. Okay, guys. So hopefully that was helpful for you. You should never have to sit there and write out an SOP. Those days are gone, guys. They shouldn't sit in a dusty binder either. Those days are over. It's a whole new game. All right, now step 4, this gets more advanced. But if you've done these things of transferring tasks, if you've started to build your playbooks, well, how do you really take the next step? Now, this is more advanced, but how do you really take the step to having a business that runs like a well-oiled machine without you? What's the first step I would have our clients do? Well, where we start in our business engine method is we have our clients, when they reach this advanced stage, map their business engine. And what does that mean? We actually have them get out on a whiteboard, and we have a whole process for how we do this. I'm not going to break all of that down in this episode here, but from a high level, 30,000 foot view, what I want you to do is you're going to map all of the processes, all of the steps, all of the workflows to produce value to your customers and we do this in 2 ways, your customer acquisition map and your fulfillment or operations map, right? You've got 2 engines of the business. And the first thing you need to do is get absolute clarity. If you're expecting your team to run things without you, you better give them absolute clarity. So you want to break everything down. Then we usually do this in a digital tool later. We use Miro.com, I think it is, Miro.com. You can find that. That's a very simple tool to map this out digitally, but we always start on a whiteboard first. Then we go digital, and here's the next step. This is the big unlock. You want to look at what are the critical parts of your engine, what are the key parts of an engine, if you think about it, a car engine, that if these pieces of the parts of the engine aren't done with 100% accuracy, we're going to have a problem, either in inefficiency, quality, or profitability. And when you identify those, I want you to just, put a little red mark there, for example, with your marker or in the digital tool. You're identifying those as critical playbooks, ones that you have to build those playbooks for now, and then assign ownership to a team member. It's not you, the business owner, that owns it anymore. As soon as it's clearly defined, it can be assigned, and that's it. There are more things that go into that to make sure the playbook's done right, the team is trained, they're up to speed, they're going to be able to do it proficiently. But from a 30,000 foot view, I said, those are the steps I want you to take. The last note I would make is, aside from those critical playbooks that have to be done with 100% accuracy, is I want you to look at where are we having constraints, bottlenecks, or fires that keep burning all the time in these areas. Also mark those. Just pick a different color, mark those on your board. And those would be the other playbooks that you've got to build ASAP. Okay. And I just went over in the last step how to capture those playbooks as fast as possible. Capturing and building your playbooks are never a separate project when you adopt the 3D principle, right? When you do, As you're doing the work, you document the work, and then it can be delegated. And it also shouldn't always be you, the business owner. When anybody is doing and executing a task, and they do it well, that should go without saying. You want the people that do it well to document it and capture it, because that's going to be what others are going to use to learn how to do it as well, right? So the 3D principle is going to be a massive unlock for you, along with those tools I shared with you. All right, guys. Now, the last step in this playbook, and it's kind of obvious, but you're going to repeat step 4 across all of those functions, all of the steps in your engine mapping over time. You ideally want to organize this in a playbook library and make sure we have all of those resources inside of our growth engine program. And that's something you're going to want to do as well. Make sure it's all organized, map everything out so that every single one of these functions is accounted for, and that you've assigned an outcome to a team member, an existing team member, or if it exposes, hey, we're over capacity in this area, you know where your next hires come in, right? So this is a huge transformation when you've done that, when you've got all of your systems built for all of the functions of your business, and you've assigned ownership to somebody else. It's going to be night and day for you. Now, one other key sort of pro tip I want you to think about is it doesn't always have to be full-time hires to own those playbooks. You can have subcontractors. You can have part-time people. You can be creative now and not always just scale your staff by having hires that own the exact same roles as somebody else. You can hire in a whole new way. You can hire based on somebody's strengths and experience and capabilities to own playbooks. This is a game changer. All right. That's how you're able to really scale a business and have, the same level of quality, to be able to not significantly increase overhead as you grow. This is a game changer for you. So I hope this was valuable for you. If you've got any questions, you can reach out to us at team@drivenforgrowth.co. I would love, if you're watching this on YouTube, to subscribe to our channel, drop us a comment with your biggest takeaway. If you're listening to this on the podcast, I would love your honest feedback in a review and a rating. It goes a long way to more Surface Pros like you to be able to find our show, to be able to get the value that we share every week. So quick recap before I land the plane. The 5-step playbook to reclaim ownership of your business, to escape the owner overload loop, is step number 1, redefine your job, the old you versus the CEO you. I want you to do a time audit and transfer at least 5 tasks immediately. Get those off your plate. Step number 3, I want you to learn the fastest way to build your playbooks at scale. Step number 4 is to map your 2 core business engines, your customer engine and your fulfillment engine. And step number 5 is produce the playbooks for every function in your business and assign an owner to the outcome of that playbook other than yourself. All right, guys, that's it. Until next time, in part 3, where I'm going to unlock how to get out of the growth gridlock ceiling, I want you guys to stay driven for growth.